Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to Mangoes and Whales. My name is Greg, and this is part 2 of my guide to the specialist double kill challenges that you need to complete all of before you can unlock the hero challenges. So there is also a part 1, of course, and I'll have a link on the screen as well as in the description. Alright, so I fucked this up big time because I was gonna cover all the rest of the specialists, Nomad, Reaper, Spectre, and FIREBREAK, but somehow I managed to completely blow it and lose all my clips for everybody but Nomad. So this video is only going over Nomad, and I'll definitely be going over both the h.i.v.e. and the rejack parts of the challenge. And honestly, I think that's actually probably the most tricky of the 4. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I won't be wasting your time covering challenges that you don't actually need help with. So here we go. Let's start talking about h.i.v.e. first. And I actually have 4 clips for you with h.i.v.e. instead of the 3 that you only need. 3 double kills. These are 4 h.i.v.e. double kill clips. So the first thing to say is hopefully fairly intuitive. You need to space out your h.i.v.e. pods. Don't deploy them all in one spot, because as soon as somebody trips a h.i.v.e., as I'm sure you've all experienced, when you trip a h.i.v.e., you're like, oh fuck, and then the instinct takes over that you should like boost and try and dodge it somehow and go all over the place so you can somehow shake it off, even though you know deep down it won't work. Still, that's what people will do. So if you have all your h.i.v.es next to each other, then usually the person who trips up that first h.i.v.e. is gonna go, oh fuck, and do some sort of crazy dash and trip all the rest of them up too. So you want to avoid that from happening, or yeah, prevent that from happening. So that's why you gotta space out your h.i.v.es a little bit. Make it so that one player can't really easily trip up, you know, several h.i.v.es. I mean, it might still happen, but you want to try and eliminate that as much as possible. Let's see, beyond that, as you're spacing them out, try and cover as many like high traffic zones as you possibly can. I mean, putting them in places where enemies don't normally go is not really going to help you out. So you want to cover like high traffic zones as much as possible, and then also just keep in mind that you do have a time limit. That's kind of the juggling act. You got to juggle spacing them out versus you know, dealing with your time limit. And then one other thing to say is you want to sort of like position them so that your opponents like will have a reasonable chance of actually tripping them up. So, you know, don't shoot them toward the direction of where all your teammates are spawning, because your enemies are not going to be there. You know, that's kind of a waste of h.i.v.e. pods. I sort of did that a little bit in this video, and I still managed to get away with it. But it wasn't the best decision. But also there weren't as many lanes that I could actually reasonably cover from that position. So I don't know, it worked out. I guess another thing to say is I'm not really doing anything like super fantastic in these clips. I'm just spacing them out and trying to cover as many lanes as I possibly can, and eventually it's going to work out. I mean, law of averages says that it's eventually going to happen that more than one opponent is going to trip up your h.i.v.e. pods at roughly the same time, you know, as long as you just, like I said, space them out, cover the high traffic lanes. I feel like I sound like a broken record at this point. But that's all there is to it. I mean, and then just, you know, give it time. It's not going to happen every game, but it'll happen sooner than you think. That's the thing I think about Nomad, is his challenges sound a little bit harder than they actually are. So yeah, give it a little bit of time, you know, and oh, one other thing I guess to say that might help. If you accidentally put your h.i.v.e. pods in like right around the spot that all the rest of your teammates are spawning, or toward the direction of where your teammates are spawning, you're gonna have to try to flip the spawn, but at the same time you're gonna have to try and stay alive. So just be careful, take your time, try to avoid enemies, you know, take the long flank routes, and that'll help with that, because, you know, if you can flip the spawn on your enemies, then they are all gonna be spawning kind of over where you deployed your h.i.v.e. pods, and they're not gonna know that they're there, and that can get you a nice festival of kills. Yeah, is that a thing? A festival of kills? Maybe we can make that a thing. All right, so this is the last time. And I almost forgot. Make sure that if you die when you've got h.i.v.e. pods out, you watch a kill cam all the way to the end, because they'll stay active that whole time. Moving on to rejack. Okay, so rejack is another one that sounds harder than it actually is. And a couple things about rejack. You're gonna want a gun that has a high ammo capacity because it's not gonna reload your ammo once you go into rejack, and you don't have time to reload. I mean, you gotta pop out of rejack and start shooting immediately. It's nice if you can rejack behind some cover like I did right there. And a couple of strategies real quick before the video ends. If you know where enemies are, if you know that there are a bunch of enemies near you, pop out a rejack right away and just start shooting before they have a chance to like reload and sort of figure out that you're in rejack. If you don't know where enemies are and you think that there might not be too many near you, then wait as long as you possibly can, and then pop out a rejack once everyone's kind of forgotten about you. I think the worst thing to do is kind of popping out like in the middle. So anyway, I hope that helped you out, and I'll catch you next one, guys. Good luck.